about excessive killing, how that came to pass, and what our four superstars did about it. So the analogy works only if you are willing to embrace another analogy, that of the big leagues in hell. Here in the infernal majors, the score is kept mainly, though inaccurately since everybody cheats, through body counts. Combat is often one-on-one, but ganging up is always encouraged. As we shall see, Alliance inter-squad scrimmages produced some of Team America's most impressive wins, courtesy of George Marshall and Dwight Eisenhower. In literal terms, at least, these were bloodless victories, but they were made in the context of the constantly gorier, corpse-littered environment of World War II. The game our four protagonists had devoted their lives to getting good at was getting worse and worse. Fortunately, as befit the hellish locale, the game itself was doomed, destined to be replaced by something even worse. Much worse, actually, but paradoxically much better. If hell could have a silver lining, this was it. The fact was that Western societies, and ultimately the rest of the world, had blundered into a logical trap so simple, yet so self-reinforcing, that it amounted to a feedback loop for warfare intensification, a demonic treadmill of destructiveness always accelerating and with no apparent way to get off. It began during the early stages of the French Revolution, when it was discovered that ordinary citizens, hastily assembled, armed, and trained, could make up for their military shortcomings with sheer enthusiasm, and, in doing so, overcome the dispirited professionals of the ancient regime. This began with volunteers, but soon it was learned that the proposition basically held for those compelled to serve, so long as revolutionary fervor held and, later, Napoleon was around to lead them. Prior to this, armies had been very expensive and time-consuming to build and maintain. Now, very suddenly, the way was open for legions in the millions. The second jaw of the trap was formed and sprung during the American Civil War. In this case, it came in three forms: the telegraph, trains to transport troops, and rifled small arms with triple the accurate range of their predecessors. All were important, though not necessarily decisive, but it was their larger lesson that mattered. Technology must be relentlessly applied to the means of warfare. The results would prove appropriate and effective. When put in the hands of armies of ordinary citizens, those new means of warfare led to a series of ever-intensified bloodbaths, wars of such magnitude that they shook otherwise successful societies to their very foundations. Total war, periodic societal spasms during which everything was devoted to destruction, was the outcome of this simple but lethal proposition. Around 100 million died prematurely during the first half of the 20th century, caught in this perfect trap. Then, without warning, the grand mechanism self-destructed by creating something much more terrible but, in the end, far safer. Yet at the time, who knew? By any measure, for civilian or soldier, this was tough ground to have crossed. Yet our four protagonists not only successfully traversed the first, truly uncharted part of the Cold War, they also directed the rest of us toward safety. They were far from perfect human beings, but they did basically represent the values of their countrymen in some very tough circumstances. All four exhibited remarkable adaptability, which was exactly what tumultuous times demanded, but they never lost their basic respect for human life in an environment devoted to slaughter. They played in a very rough league, yet they never truly disgraced themselves or us. Not even George Patton. No superstar is remembered primarily for being a nice guy. It's achievements that matter. Since this is Team America, we'll group them together. The most audacious general, along with the best staff officer in the American Expeditionary Forces that finished off the Germans in 1918. The chief organizer of the U.S. Army in World War II, and that war's best field general, its victors in both the European and Pacific theaters. The organizer and first commander of NATO, the father of the Marshall Plan to rebuild Western Europe,